Shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, right? And this is truth. This truth revealing Tuesday. Native American history tracks back to the Bible with the servants, right? So we're gonna get into some truth. We're gonna reveal some truths, and we're gonna get into this thing through the spirit, right? So first, let me start off, kick it off with some scriptures, right? All right. Make sure my screen. Yeah. Share my screen. Make sure my screen sharing. Con. Let's get the book of John, chapter 8, verse 32. Let's get this right quick. Make sure my screen sharing. Right. So the book of John, chapter 8, verse 32, it says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." So we out here to set the truth, I have to give the truth to our people, reveal the truth, right, to our people about the Native Americans, which are our brothers and sisters, right? They are our brothers and sisters. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American, we are all one people. We are the Israelites according to the Bible. So what we ain't gonna do, me and my brother, we gonna do right here with the servants. We gonna go. We gonna give y'all some evidence, a couple of articles and things like that, books that we got in scriptures, and combine them together with history to show you who the Native Americans are, and prove that they are Israelites according to the Bible, right? In historical artifacts, right? So before we get into that, there's some things we kind of want to kick off as well, like different things that's going on in the earth as we speak. So for those that's just popping in or haven't been paying attention, there was recently a plane crash in Kentucky, right? It was a massive plane crash in Kentucky. So I want to kind of just touch on that real quick, briefly, right? So, and it's all for educational purposes. So let's go into this right quick. Let's go into it. This is for it's for fair use. All this is fair use. All right, fair use. So not only are we here to reveal truth, but we also tap in on current events as well. So let's get this real quick through the spirit. It says at least 3 people unalived in UPS plane crash near Louisville Airport, governor says. So this just happened not too long ago, right? It was a big plane crash. It says at least 3 people are believed to have been unalive after the UPS plane crashed shortly after takeoff near the Louisville International Airport. Kentucky government Andy Beshear said Tuesday night. The number of fatalities is expected to increase. The governor said during news conference at least 11 injuries, some of which are significant, have been reported, he said. He said Beshear said there was not hazardous cargo on board the plane that would create environmental issues around the crash site, but urged residents to follow any shelter in place orders. Right, so they're saying it was a huge cargo plane. Right, it crashed. There was a lot of fire. Right, it was a lot going on. Let me see if we got a video on it. Let's see what it says. The Louisville Metro Police Department described the scene as active with fire and debris, warning residents to stay away from Fern Valley and Gray Lane, an intersection located on the south side of the airport, which serves as the hub for the UPS. So if you haven't been paying attention, if you remember earlier in the year, there was a whole bunch of plane crash that's been going on, right? It started early this year, right? There was plane crashes back to back. Now you got another plane crash that just happened, right? Towards this time of the year, right? And there was a several plane crashes this year. There was a lot going on this year, right? A lot going on with these planes, right? It says a shelter in place has been extended for all areas northbound of the interstate highway that loops around in the Louisville metropolitan area to the Ohio River, police said. The police department also urged those in the area to turn off any air intake system as soon as possible due to smoke in the area. So it was a lot going on. So here you can kind of get a visual of what happened, right? You can get a visual. Says, and I'm gonna read this part of the article right here. It says business in the area were heavily impacted by the crash, right? Including Kentucky Petroleum Recycling, Grade A Auto Parts. The governor said at least 2 employees of Grade A Auto Parts are unaccounted for. So, and you can see this area that's on fire. This is a huge area. And you can see like there's cars all around it. Like this is insane, right? It says at least 2 employees. It says, for it's not clear how many people, including customers, were on site at the time of the incident. So you have businesses, you got customers, employees, and it's a lot going on. But you got to understand too, what relates to the Bible is everything you see in the world, right? Whether it be good or bad, understand that it's caused by the Most High, right? All these things are created by the Most High God. So I'm gonna get a precept to prove, because some brothers and sisters might say, well, the Lord, he's all love, he's all good, but you gotta understand the Lord deal with just balances, right? So let's go to this precept right quick. The Lord deal with just balances. Think about it. He's the omnipotent God. He's all. You can't just be all good and no bad, right? Because then you wouldn't be the Most High. You wouldn't be able to do everything. The Most High can do any and everything, right? That's what makes him the Most High, right? If you understand. So, but let's get the scriptures and kind of go into it, right? So this is Deuteronomy 32 and verse 39. It says, see now that even I am he, and there is no God with me. So he's letting you know that there is no other God with him. It's him alone, right? I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So we look at the scriptures, and what the scriptures say, when we look at judgment and things that's going on in the earth, we got to understand that this is the will or the doings of the Most High God. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm gonna get another precept. Right? I'm gonna get another precept. Right? Isaiah 45 and 7. Right? It says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So we're seeing that the Most High is saying, I do all these things. So when we see things like this going on in Kentucky, right? The plane crash, understand it's the Most High. And we don't know the reason why he cast down judgment over there. We never know, right? I'm going to get another precept, right? Just to show, right? That when we see things going on in the world, right? All this is the Most High doing. Let me get this tab right here. So I'm gonna get this precept in Sirach, right? We're gonna go to the book of Sirach. Salakia, what the hell just happened? All right, we're gonna go to the book of Sirach, right? Now, for those that's new and they might not have heard of the book of Sirach, it's in the Apocrypha, right? In the 1611 edition, you have the Old Testament, the Apocrypha, and the New Testament. It was taken the Apocrypha was taken out by the Protestant church, right? So we read the whole Bible, right? Even the things that the Protestant church took out, which would be the Apocrypha, which would be you got second Esdras, first Esdras, the book of the Maccabees brothers, the book of Maccabees 1 and 2, right? Judith, editions of Esther, Wisdom of Solomon, and so forth, right? So anyways, it's the book of Sirach. And this is 39 and verse 28. So check this out now. Let me start at verse 27. It says, all these things are for good to the godly. So to the sinners, they are turned to evil. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. So the Lord had created some spirits, right, specifically to send out vengeance. And we don't, and we not the Most High. All we got to understand is when it comes to the Most High, if He want to take out vengeance, He's going to do that, right? If He want to cast down judgment, He's going to do that, right? And that's why, at the same time, knowing that, it says it's a terrible thing to fall into the hands of the living God, right? And that's where a lot of people, they lack in fear, not understanding that when you see things going on in the world, that's the Most High. He's terrible. You should fear Him, right? But let's keep going. It says, fire in hell, fire in hell. We just seen the from the police report, like the brother, like it was just bringing out. It said it was fire and debris, smoke everywhere, right? Telling the people that, hey, you got any air intake systems, cut them off because so much smoke in the area, right? This is the doing of the Most High. It says fire in hell, in famine, in death. All these were created for vengeance, right? So all these things was created for vengeance. So when we see things going on throughout the earth, we got to understand that the Most High created these things for His purpose, for His will, right? And you might not understand His will because you ain't nothing but man. It's not for you to figure the Most High out. We just man at the end of the day, right? It says teeth the wild beast, and scorpion serpents in the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction, right? And this the part so we can understand that if the Most High send a spirit send a spirit at you to discipline you or to judge you or to do anything to you, they're gonna do just that, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So that's when you think about when you read the book of Deuteronomy, right, chapter 32 and verse 39. When it was saying that there is nobody that can deliver out of the Most High hand, then you read things like this in Sirach, right? We're about to read next, and you see what it's talking about, right? It says, they shall rejoice in His commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is. And when their time is come, they shall not transgress His word. So it's saying that these spirits that the Most High going to send out, that He sends out for vengeance and judgment, right? They're going to be ready upon the earth, right? It says they're not going to transgress the words of the Most High. They're going to do what they got to do, right? So that's it on that. But you ask one, King?
Shalom, family. Shalom, shalom. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabbarakatah. Peace and blessings to all you all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a lot going on, man. You know, that just happened a couple of hours ago. And, you know, there's a lot of more atrocities coming to this world because we are at the end of this world. And with the end of this world coming, this place and this country and the inhabitants thereof must be judged according to the Bible for the evil that they have done to the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And like you see tonight, you know what I'm saying? Hey, on Tuesday, we bring out the truth. And so tonight, you know what I'm saying? We realize what month it is. It's the month of November. You know what I'm saying? Besides me having two beautiful children born into November, I hate November. You know what I'm saying? I hate November with a perfect hatred. You know what I'm saying? Because why? At the end of this month, everybody uses all their food stamps. Well, they used to use all their food stamps and a lot of their money, and they put it towards what? Buying all these different foods and abominable ham, you know what I'm saying? So forth and so forth to do what? Celebrate so-called Thanksgiving. And we know when you know what I'm saying, you study the history and the origin behind it, this is the celebration of overcoming and conquering the native Indians. So we're going to do a 4-part series in this month of November, and we're going to reveal the truth on how wicked the Esau, the people that we look at as neighbors and our friendly citizens and our buddies, how truly they evil are, how truly evil they are, I should say. And you know what I'm saying, look at the atrocities they have done to our people. So with that, we're going to get into some history. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people might not, you know what I'm saying, know what the Indian Removal Act is, or the history of the Trail of Tears, or that this stuff is even prophesied in the Bible. But through the Spirit of the Most High, we're going to tap in and we're going to deal with it. So, you know what I'm saying, let's get some precepts out. Let's go get some precepts, because, you know what I'm saying, during the time when Yahushua walked the scene, you know what I'm saying, who was around him at that time? It was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have the whole 12 tribes of Israel. So let's see what Yahushua says in the book of John. We're going to dive into the book of John, and we're going to start at verse number 9. And it's the book of John, chapter 10, and this is verse number 9. It says, I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. Then the Bible goes on to say, with Yahushua says, the thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. And when you think about the thief in this modern day term, who's a better thief than the so-called white man? Who's a better thief than Esau, Idumea, Edom? The people we see everywhere we go when we walk around America. You know what I'm saying? You see them on the poster boards when you're on the highway. Go get insurance. Everything you need, these are the people that we see. You know what I'm saying? When you go to the doctor's office and have to get prescriptions, the people that created those prescriptions are who? The so-called white man. When you have to go to the courthouse to get judged, you might have a couple of Jakes in there, but predominantly the person you got to go stand before is who? The so-called white man. When you need somebody to represent you in the court of law, 9 times is who? The so-called white man. They have stole everything from us. And the Bible even reads, and it says it right here. So I'm gonna read this again. It says, the thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. Who did they come to steal from? The earthly inhabitants, and chiefly the Israelites. Who did they come to kill? Chiefly the Israelites. And who did they want to destroy? Whose heritage did they want to destroy? Whose nationality did they want to destroy? And whose code of ethics did they want to destroy? The Israelites, right? So this is coming out of Yahushua's own mouth. Man, the thief don't come to do none but these 3 things. But what he says is this: I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. So when Yahushua came on the scene to give his life, as we all know, but some might not know, he didn't come to give his life just for Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. He came to give his life for the whole 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. It says, but he that is an hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling and careth not for the sheep. So when you look at the leaders at this time that was in the land of Israel, they were hirelings. They didn't really care for the sheep. And when you look at the people that's in this world today, the people that we have before us, the rappers, the Christian pastors, our black politicians, our black, you know what I'm saying, anybody's in higher standard and they're tied in with Esau, these people don't care for us. They are hirelings. Jesse Jackson is a hireling. Martin Luther King was a hireling. You know what I'm saying? Whether you a believer or not. And when you look at it, these people don't truly care for the sheep. They care with the position that they so-called master put them in. And when all hell break loose, these people, you know what I'm saying? You don't see Jesse Jackson on the front line risking his life. You see Jesse Jackson when somebody then dropped a deposit in his bank account, and he gets sent out to the masses to tell our people, oh, let it go. We got to forgive. We got to love in the name of Jesus. Pastor Pam at 2819 is a hireling. When all hell hit the fan and Jacob's trouble truly amasses, we're not going to be able to find Pastor Pam. Pastor Pam not going to be on the front line risking his life for the blessed Hispanics and Native Americans. Hell, he's not even doing it now. I'm pretty sure he got some Hispanics in his church, some Jamaicans or Haitians in their church. He's not risking his freedom and putting his church on the line to make sure those people can do what they do to stay in this land and be able to take care of their families. And so let's keep reading on that. It says, I am the good shepherd and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father know of me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, this is what I was looking for, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. So what we read about here, what was Yahushua referencing? Yahushua is letting us know that there is he has another fold of sheep that was out there that he had to bring into the fold. And that's and that is the northern kingdom of the nation of Israel. We are the ones that he was referencing to when he said, I have another of this fold. The Native Americans, the Reubenites, the Issacharites, the Gadites, the Manassites, the Simeonites. You know what I'm saying? We are the one, the Ephraimites. We are the ones of the other fold that he was making mention and reference of. So let's get some more precepts, because what we're going to go into today is we're going to go into how Esau came in. It was prophesied that Esau was going to come in and do this, but not only take the land of the northern kingdom of Israel, but enslave them, colonize them, colonialize them, and set them up to be at the bottom of society alongside their brothers, which would be the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But let me get this other precept real quick. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11 and verse number 26. It says, behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you to this day, and a curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day to go after other gods which you have not known. And this is what we are, the people that done this. So even the Lord knew back then that if we didn't hearken and take heed to his commandments, he was going to put curses on us. So let's get this in Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse number 1. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse number 1. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Lord thy God have driven thee. So not only was we going to be scattered and colonized, but a lot of our people here was going to lose their inheritances, and they were going to have to call these things to mind in the land where their enemies came and took everything from them, like the northern kingdom. And it says, and shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children with thee, with all thine heart and with all thine soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity. So this is the reason why we bringing this out, not just to expose the truth, but because also our people of Native American, Hispanic descent, you know what I'm saying, we must come back to the Most High God and serve the Most God. And we must learn why these things happen to us and realize that all these nations are not our friends. And it says, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whether the Lord thy God have scattered thee. All right. So I'm gonna just get a couple more precepts so I can go into the introduction of this thing, because you know what I'm saying, there has been a lot of whitewashing with the prophets, with the Israelites, who the real Jews are, and with who the real Native Americans are. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of whitewashing going on in the midst. So let's get this real quick. This is the book of Deuteronomy. I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy chapter 31 real quick.
I got a precept after though.
All right, go. You might have faith. You can go and get. You can go and get it. I'll come back to this.
Let me go get this precept, right? And it's showing you too that again, that in these times also that we waking up in these last days and realizing who we are, and that's why the Lord put in our spirit to bring out these scriptures that we're bringing out, so our people can also see that, hey, because you never know, right? You could be somebody watching this could be a Native American descent, right? And they feel like, oh dang, I ain't know I was an Israelite, and they start to see this proof and this information, right? And seeing the whole time that they Israelites, right? But let me get this real quick. Because the Lord said in those times, right, that we was going to wake up, right? And these are times that we waking up, right? So let's get this. It says this. It says the Lord, this Ezekiel 37 and verse 15. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel and his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. So in these last days, right, the children of Israel are waking up, right? Like the brother said, Yahushua, right? Christ, he didn't just come for the Jews. He didn't just come for the southern tribe, right? He came for all the 12 tribes. And in these last days, all the 12 tribes are waking up and realizing who they are in these last days and coming together through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? And it's only going to be more and more and more and more. Because remember, in the book of Daniel, right, it said that knowledge shall be increased in the latter days. And that's what's going on. We're increasing the knowledge, realizing who we are, and coming back to our heritage. It's important for all of us to come back to our heritage, right? And that's one of the reasons why, right, they was the Jews were getting mad at Paul, because he was going to those Israelites that were dispersed among these different places, right? That wasn't Jews, right? And I'm gonna jump up too, right? And I'm gonna read this one, this precept here. This precept in verse 9. Ezekiel 37:9. It says, Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, say to the wind, thus says Lord God, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. And we have been the people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We have been slain, right? We have been discontinued from our heritage. We don't even remember what we used to do in our homeland. We don't remember how we used to serve the Most High God, right? We don't remember the names that the Most High God gave us. We don't remember his commandments. We've been stripped of our heritage, right? And we add on the heritage of different heathens and people around us, right? But in these last days, right, the Lord is waking us up and putting breath in our bodies, right? And think about it, how we've been slain by these different nations, right? The so-called white man, he took our name. We came over here. Some of my people that came over here, they had names. You had your God-given name, right? Then he beat the name out you. Now your name is Toby. Now your last name Robinson. Now your last name Williamson, right? But in these last days, we're waking up and realizing that we are the children of Israel, and we're not black, right? The color of a crayon. We're not African American, right? The name of two white men, Amerigo Vespucci and Scipio Africanus. That's not our heritage. That's not where we come from, right? So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. So an exceeding great army is rising in these last days. More and more, as this truth spreads to the four corners of the earth, more and more Israelites are realizing and remembering who they are in the land of their captivity and coming back to the Most High God. Right? So with that, I yield.
Gone. Praise to the Most High. Hey man, get the book of well, all right.
I can get it still.
No, it's all right. I got it. All right, so you know what I'm saying? As we going forth, like I said, we're going into the history of the Native Americans. So without further ado, we're gonna go and get into this, right? So, but we want to deal with some prophecies first. Just showing you that these things that's gonna, you know what I'm saying, that we're gonna go into. The Most High told Moses these things was gonna happen. So we're gonna open up and get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31, and verse number 14. And it reads, when you see the title right here, it goes into Israel will fall away. And so Deuteronomy 31 and 14. And the Lord said unto Moses, behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacles of the congregation, that I might give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud. And what this pillar of a cloud is a chariot. When you read the book of Psalms, chapter 104 and verse number 3, the Bible refers clouds as chariots. And the pillar of the cloud stood over the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord said unto Moses, behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a-whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whether they go to be among them, and will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. And then my anger will be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them. So even before Moses died, the Lord already told Moses that, hey, these people that I'm making this covenant with, Man, as soon as you die and Joshua take over and Joshua lead the scene, these people gonna go slap clean the hell off. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna follow the idols of the other nations around them. They're gonna forsake me, they're gonna defile the land that I'm gonna give to them. And the Lord say, hey, they're gonna be devoured. And he said, many evils and troubles are gonna befall them. And when you look at the history that we're about to go into today, and even look at the history that our people have went through in America alone, nothing but evils and troubles have always befallen us since we have been slaves or so-called citizens in America. And it says, so that they will say in that day, are not these evils come upon us because our God is not among us? And I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evils which they shall have wrought, and that they are turned unto other gods. Now, therefore, write ye this song for you and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. So the words of this prophecy that we read, the Lord references these words to a song, right? So he's telling Moses to put these songs in our mouth. And this is why it's good for us to come back and look at these certain things and tap into this certain history and get an understanding of it, so we can know why when everything happens to us in this world, we'll know that the reason why it happened to us because we forsook our God. And it's the verse 20. It says, for when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eating and filled themselves and waxen fat, then will they turn unto other gods and serve them and provoke me and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness. So the reason what makes this book and chapter in verse 31 and 32 so powerful is because the Most High said, once these things actually happen to us, which we're going to read about, you could do Southern Kingdom or Northern Kingdom. This song that Moses is going to write to us, he said, this song shall testify against us as a witness. And it says, for it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination which they go about, even now, before I have brought them into the land which I swear. Moses therefore wrote this song the same day and taught it to the children of Israel. And this is what we're going into today, right? We're going to go into the things that the Lord said in that song, which you can read about in the book of Psalms, chapter 32, verse 32. I mean, know why I'm talking so crazy today. And these songs are going to be a witness to what we're going to go into. So first, you know what I'm saying? We're going to get into this, right? And I want to see how I want to do it, right? So first, we want to show you that the true descendants of Israel, you know what I'm saying, the Israelites, they weren't just no pink-faced people or, you know what I'm saying, Edomites, you know what I'm saying, because everybody at camp have these certain Edomites that want to come up to the camp and, oh, I'm Cherokee Indian. I'm an Israelite as well and look just as pink as Esau and the rest of them, right? These devils. But what we're going to show today through the spirit and we're going to tap into is, you know what I'm saying, when you go into the books in the archives that these people kept for records, they're going to let you know what the real descendants of Israel look like. So, King, you can see this?
Con, I can see it.
You'll read that off for me?
Con, I got you.
My bad. Go ahead.
103 amazing facts about the Black Indian of the Western Hemisphere.
So it said this is 103 amazing facts about the Black Indians of the Western Hemisphere. And if y'all want to tap into this book more, this book is free. It's a free PDF. All you got to do is look it up and go snatch it, right? This is a free PDF. All right. So now read what this says at the on the left side at this time.
At times, statements or phrases can cause the human mind to tap into worlds or realities where a bigger picture or image of that time zone or reality is given, revealing more information about that reality. Someone else has been responsible for recording the history of my people for the past 500 years.
Read that part again.
It says someone else
go ahead,
has been responsible for recording the history of my people for the past 500 years. Other than my own people, the perception of our past is very limited. And it says our past and how we perceive our past has been shown to us by a people who have so far not recorded our history correctly for the past 500 years.
Right.
May these facts penetrate the psyche of my people and cause a mental stimulus that ignites the spirit and breaks the spell of amnesia that currently plagues most of us.
Right.
We are in desperate need of total memory recall.
So this person who wrote this book said we are in desperate need of what? Remembrance recall. So now let's get the Bible and show you that that's biblical. This is what our people need. And it's finna get sticky in here, right? We're gonna go into this. And if you haven't heard it, hey man, it's gonna be good for you. But if you have heard it, ain't nothing wrong with a refresher. And you know what I'm saying, to add more to your arsenal. So now we're gonna read the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, and verse number 19. It says, hope of relief in God's mercy. And now it reads, remembering mine affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall. My soul hath them still in remembrance, and it is humbled in me. So when you think about the things that happened to the Native Americans, to the Hispanics, and to the so-called black man, these things are humbling to the Israelites. This is why today, when you look in the world, this is why you see a lot of us striving to keep the commandments. This is why you see a lot of us striving to teach. This is why you see a lot of us devoted to learning our history so it can motivate us and show us that these nations not our friends, but these are our enemies. And Esau is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And it says, this I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. So the things that we about to go into this one book and read, these things going to call back to mind what the Bible tells us, and it through the spirits and Most High will and give us hope to keep enduring, right? To keep prophesying and keep shaking the hand. And you know what I'm saying? Keep going against these people. So now let's read what this says in the book, the scripture.
It says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
Right.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. Hosea 4:6.
All right. So now let's get to the nitty gritty in this. Hold on. I gotta stop doing this. Here we go. All right. So now we're going into certain pages in the book, and as you can see, it is a PDF, but this is the actual book. And you know what I'm saying? They just got the pages how they be. So now let's go through the list of it, King.
Con, you want to start at 1?
Yeah.
Con, it says, Black Indians have lived in the Western Hemisphere since time immemorial.
Yeah,
Immemorial. Black Indians were not spawned or created as a result of Africans coming to the Western Hemisphere during the transatlantic slave trade, mixing with the native people of the Western Hemisphere region, also known as Native American Indians. Native or indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, also known as Indian, did not refer to themselves or their ancestors as Indian. We use the word Indian since most people are accustomed to this title. The word Indian, red man, or Native American are European colonized terms.
We got other different books to let you know why they gave us these terms. Christopher Columbus and his Edomite cohorts who came over here to colonize, they called us Indians because they so-called thought they was thought they was in the Indies. They called us Caribs, you know what I'm saying, because they seen it was a shorter term for the Caribbean islands. And they called some of our people cannibals because they seen some of the Northern Kingdom going off and doing what? Eating man's flesh, eating human flesh, eating their children's flesh. So these where these terms came from. The word Indian, red man, Native American are European colonized terms. All right, but keep going, King.
Native or indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere referred to themselves by way of tones, vibrations of expression. Your spirit said who and what you were. The name given to you was based upon what type of spirit you possess.
Right.
All native or indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, possess different psychological features or physiological features. Hair texture, bone structure, and skin tone varied. all native and indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, did not and do not have high cheekbones and slanted eyes, reddish copper skin, or straight black hair.
Right. So now, before we keep going forward, let's get the scriptures to prove that. Right. So let's get the scriptures to prove that, and we're gonna come back to Hosea chapter 7 and verse 1. But we got to come down and read what the Lord says about the description of the Israelites. So give me the Hosea. Can you see this? Read Hosea 7 and 7, King.
The book of Hosea chapter 7 verse 7. They are all hot as an oven and have devoured our judges. All their kings are fallen. There is none among them that calleth unto me. Ephraim, he have mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
He said Ephraim is a what?
It's a cake not turned.
So when you look at a cake that's unturned, you know what I'm saying? Think of a pancake. One side might be darker than the other one, right? So what is describing is when you think about Ephraim or the northern kingdom, they are different varieties of brown, like a cake unturned. If you don't cook one part of the cake, that side of the cake that's uncooked is gonna have a lighter complexion than the other side of the cake that might be cooked and burnt in the furnace, right? Let's get another witness on that. Let's get the book of Jeremiah chapter 12 and then read verse number 9.
Jeremiah 12 and 9. My heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour.
Come to devour. All right, so now when you go back to this, let's go back to this PDF, right? Let's go back to this PDF, and we ain't gonna read all of these unless all of y'all want to bring something out on it. But when you go down now, let's jump through and get the number 7.
Number 7.
Yep.
Now, as long as you, I was gonna hit 11 too.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going. I just want to skip down to some of them.
I got you, King. So we can start at verse 7. Number 7. It says, it is difficult for society to accept the Black Indian as being native or indigenous to the Western Hemisphere region because society has been brainwashed with fabricated fake images of indigenous people in the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians.
Right.
Most reservation Indians were carefully selected by the U.S. government.
It said most reservation Indians were carefully selected by the U.S. government. Why is that? Because when you go back to watch Killers of the Flowery Moon or something like that, you got many different shows. A lot of Edomites were marrying into Native American families to do what? Kill them and keep their legacy and take their heritages away. And a lot of them, when we go into what we're talking about tonight with the Indian Removal Act, a lot of those Indians got kicked out of their land and pushed far west into Oklahoma. And when you go into this is why Esau did everything that they did. They wanted all the heritage and royals and riches that the Native Americans had. So that's why they made fake covenants with them, had fake marriages with them, to the intent of what? That now, once you get your people mingled in there, and now y'all are starting to populate, you're going to kick the original man out and set up who? Yourself. And now you're going to be, that's where the $5 Indian come from. You pay $5 and you can now be a Native American Indian. This is where all these things came from, because why? This was biblical prophecy to happen to the who? Native Americans who are the northern kingdom of Israel, which are the Gad and Reubenites. Go ahead.
To occupy reservations when reservations were being established, the U.S. government, for the most part, selected pale-skinned Indians or Hollywood version Indians to occupy U.S. government established reservations. The U.S. government selected a certain physiological type of natives, aka Indian, to promote to the world as this a real Indian, as well as this is how a real Indian looks.
Right.
The dark-skinned native indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, were reclassified during the 17 and 1800s as Negroes and colors.
It says Negroes and colors, but you can chime in on there if you want to.
So I just wanted, so you can see that they stripped the Native Americans or the Northern Kingdom, right, from their name and their hair and what they had going on, and they adopted it to themselves, and then they grouped us all together and said, hey, they Negroes and colors. But that's also how you know that the so-called blacks and the Native Americans, we the same people, for them to be able to group us together as one people. But I just want to bring that point out.
Yep, that's right. So now it says in in number 12, certain dark-skinned natives were allowed to settle on reservations with pale-skinned natives. Most were not. And when you keep reading on down on this, it's going to show you, what I'm saying, when you read through all this, why, what I'm saying, they did what they did. And now let's keep reading. Let's jump to this this number 18 real quick.
Number 18, okay. It says most early European writers during the 1400s throughout the 1800s, including pale-skinned Jews.
Including the pale-skinned Jews, which will be who? Amalek, read.
All agreed that the heathen savage of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, throughout the Americas, were without a doubt descendants of the lost tribes of Israel.
So when you think about this, these people was dealing evilly and wickedly with these people because they knew that they knew that these were the children of the lost tribes of Israel. They found the lost tribes of Israel. And also what you have to understand is that these Edomites are very crafty people. They study their enemy. They hunt your steps, like the Bible says. And when you think about this, if they knew that this was the lost tribes of Israel, like even Christopher Columbus admitted through reading the books of Ezra, what also did they know? That God said certain judgment and evils were going to come upon our people. But we're going to get to that in a second, right? So we keep going, bro.
Hold
on. This just sensitive.
All right. A pale-skinned European by the name of James Adair, an English writer and trader during the 18th century, lived amongst Black Indians in the Southeast. James Adair wrote a book entitled History of the American Indian. In his book, he claimed that the Indians of the Western Hemisphere were descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. James Adair, in his book History of the American Indian, wrote 23 arguments to support his findings that the so-called American Indians were descendants of the lost tribes of Israel.
Go ahead.
Nat Turner, Paul Coffey, Crispus Attucks, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Harriet Tubman, Denmark Vesey, Elijah Poole, aka the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, amongst millions of others, were indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians.
Right. So now when you look at this, during this time, a lot of people didn't even know about that. It says that Nat Turner, Paul Coffey, Crispus, they say Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Denmark Vesey, they say that these people also come from descendants of Indians, right? So what would that make them? According to the Bible, if their father was an Indian, that would be from the tribe of Gad or Reuben, right? But let's keep going.
And to a point that also you can see it makes sense when you go into the revolt of Nat Turner, how he was able to revolt like that, because the Native Americans, they knew the land. You know what I'm saying? I just want to bring out that point.
Right.
But I keep reading. It says the titles Black American and African American are fake, inappropriate European colonized titles to keep indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, under a spell of ignorance.
Under a spell of ignorance. Watch this. Keep going. It's going to get good.
The titles Black American and African American were purposely created and psychologically and spiritually disconnect indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, from their true motherland, which is right up under their feet. The Reverend Jesse Jackson, a South Carolina Cherokee, started and promoted the fake title of African American.
So this title came from Jesse Jackson. This is a fact, right? Go ahead.
That has been imposed upon Black Indians indigenous to the Western Hemisphere region. It has become quite profitable to brainwash the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, into thinking that Africa is their native land.
Right. So now we're gonna jump down and then we're gonna go into some videos, right? Let's read 28 and 29. And the reason why we reading these, right? Because a lot of times this is why God tells us, blessed are they that read, blessed is he that readeth. This is why God tells us to seek ye out the former age, right? Go search for your fathers, because what we about to read about these people that we, because a lot of Jakes and chiefly Eve, a lot of our people still want to do what? Put our children through college, have our children learn school. And this is why we encourage a lot of sisters to homeschool your children, man. Take time and teach your children their history and teach them their heritage, because this what happens when we send our children to these European type schools that we got to send them to today, right? Go ahead.
Connor. It says most so-called, we at 28.
Yep.
Most so-called Black Americans or so-called African Americans find it difficult to accept themselves as being native or indigenous to Western Hemisphere because of programmed fabricated images of native people in the Western Hemisphere. Fake images of their own indigenous ancestors has been routinely drilled into their psyche since birth.
Right.
The Black Indian image does not register within their psyche because of the fake imagery programming that the U.S. government has instilled into their minds, or have instilled into their minds,
right,
or of how native indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere look. The spirit of so-called Black Americans or so-called African Americans tells them one thing, while the program fake image of their own ancestors says another. This all leads to inner conflict.
Right.
The U.S. school system and the media have been two biggest giants behind programming into the masses. Fake fabricated images of native indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians.
Right. All right. So now we're gonna take a break on that. But this is a good book to go into, and if we have a little bit more time, we might go back through it. Right. We might go back through it. But first, you know what I'm saying? You want to get a preset before we go into this video?
Con. I do want to get a precept.
Go ahead.
This precept I had too. This book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32. 28 and verse 32. Let me get that real fast. Not 32, but 37. Deuteronomy 28. All right. You can see my screen showing?
Nope.
All right. Boom. Let me get that joint right there. So this is going into one of the curses for those that's new. This is going to one of the many curses that the Lord said would befall the Israelites, a future prophecy that he said would befall the Israelites for their disobedience and breaking his law, statutes, and commandments. So this Deuteronomy 28 and verse 37, it says, "And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations where the Lord shall lead thee." And I really want to harp on the word byword. When you see what's going on, these nations go and they toss different names on us, and that's what you call a byword, right? Because Most High didn't call us that, right? He gave us our own God-given name, our nationality, and all these things. But because of our disobedience, right, now we start being called colored, Negro, right, African American, Afro-American, Indian, right? So many bywords. But this is a curse that Most High say would happen to his people for their disobedience. Right? And it says, "Among all nations will the Lord shall lead thee," because the Most High, he put us in captivity and scattered us amongst all nations. And one of the things we're also going to cover tonight is that the Native Americans also, they were scattered as well. They was taken from America, and they was shipped to different places like the West Indies, right? It was also shipped to Europe, and we're gonna Lord willing, we're gonna get through that through the Spirit, right? But that's why I was going to hop on that real fast.
All right, come. All right, so now we're gonna go into a video, and this video gonna be fair use. This video will be fair use. This for educational purposes only. So now we're gonna go into the Indian Removal Act. But before we do that, let's just Let's read about it. The ending, and this is another term that they put it in, right? They put it in work, and this is how this devil moves. They put things in laws and legislations, and they butter it up to make it seem like this is something just and fair. But you know what I'm saying? Let's read about that. If you can read this for me.
It says the Indian Relocation Act of 1956, also known as Public Law 959, or the Adult Vocational Training Program, was a United States law intended to create a program of vocational training for American Indians in the United States. The act has been characterized as an attempt to encourage American Indians to leave Indian reservations in their traditional ancestral lands to assimilate them into general population in urban areas, or into weakened community and tribal ties.
So what is Esau really trying to do behind this? Esau wanted to assimilate them into the culture because they knew that majority of the original so-called Native Americans were dark-skinned people. If you assimilate them into the communities like they have done, when you think about Florida, when you think about Georgia, when you think about Memphis, when you think about Mississippi, a lot of the real Gadites and Reubenites have been sprinkled and spread throughout the communities, to where now it's a lot of Jakes who grow up, like even with myself. A lot of time I thought I was an African American, right? And when I first came into the truth, you know what I'm saying, I thought I was a Judite, because I'm like, bro, I come from this part, and you know, we all grew up hearing that, oh, you know, we got Cherokee in our blood, we got Choctaw, you know what I'm saying, some Blackfoot, Apache, you know what I'm saying. You hear about all this, but the most part of it, we stick to what? Man, we Negro, we just niggas. And when you think about this, this was the whole plan of Esau. You get them out of there, you put your people there, so that what now? You have all these people who are Israelites and predominantly Native calling themselves what? African Americans, and now they don't care about a culture. And now you get to tax them, you get to take over their land, you get to take over their culture and reap the benefits of their riches. But go ahead, King.
Khan. It says it's also been characterized as a part of Indian termination policy between 1940 and 1960, which terminated the tribal status of numerous groups and cut off previous assistance to tribal citizens. The Indian Relocation Act encouraged and forced American Indians to move to cities for job opportunities. It also played a significant role in increasing the population of urban Indians in succeeding decades.
Right. Go ahead.
At a time when the U.S. government was decreasing subsidies to American Indians living on reservation, the Relocation Act offered to pay moving expenses and provide some vocational training for those who were willing to move from the reservations to certain government designated cities, where employment opportunities were said by the legislators to be favorable. Types of assistance.
We ain't gonna read all this, but for the sake of time. But if you want to, hey man, tap into it for yourself, and you know what I'm saying. Go read this information. So now we're gonna go into this, right? We're gonna go into this real quick, and we're gonna chime in and out this video. And you know what I'm saying, most high willing, whoever's on can be able to stick through. But needless to say, we still gonna have to get through this, right? Because it's a lot of good information. But again, this is fair use.
Quickly, white settlers wanted. In the early 1800s, the United States was a young nation growing quickly. White settlers wanted more land and looked towards Native American territories. Andrew Jackson became a prominent figure known as an Indian fighter. He believed in westward expansion and promised to open native lands for settlement. In 1830, the Indian Removal Act became law, strongly supported by Jackson. The act marked the beginning of a tragic era of forced migration, driven by greed. The United States government used many legal tricks to enforce removal. Treaties were often fraudulent, with signatures obtained through bribery or from unauthorized individuals. Government agents pressured and deceived tribal leaders. The United States court system frequently sided with state governments, undermining tribal sovereignty. Political pressure was another powerful tool, with states like Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi passing laws extending their authority over native territories. President Jackson supported these states' actions, weakening tribal autonomy.
If you don't.
All right, so now while Esau trying to play us with this commercial break, right? We're gonna get a precept on this too, right? So this is what Esau does. This is what Esau does, and this is what Esau is all about. We're gonna read this. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 10, and verse number 1. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and their right grievousness which they have prescribed." When you look at what Andrew Jackson and what these other devils was doing during this time, they were writing laws and legislations all in favor of doing what? Finessing the Native Americans out of their land, finessing them to come into certain parts of the cities. And as we watching this, you see the cities it's talking about: Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, most of these places in the South where you see a lot of their presence at. You know what I'm saying? Florida. These were the places that Esau was trying to push them into, even though when you hear about the Trail of Tears, a lot of them fled to Oklahoma. But a lot of the Native Americans still got stuck throughout these southern parts and regions that they were at, right? It says to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people. And this is what Esau did, man. They made legislations to take away the rights from the so-called Native Americans, right? And to do what? Push them into the places where they want the other Negroes that they hate at the bottom of society, to take all their riches and their rights away, and now put them in your jobs and have them work for you to make you richer and to build up your economy. It says that widows may be their prey and that they may rob to the fatherless, right? That they may rob to the fatherless, right? And this is what these people did. And this is what these people did. And this is why even when you go and read the Bible, this is why God tells us this in the book of Sirach, chapter 12. This is why God tells us this in the book of Sirach, chapter 12, and verse number 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness." Right? And it's telling you, even when they came over here, our people should have never trusted in Esau. We should have never trusted our enemy, because everything that they do, it always come back to backfire on us, and we get the short end of the stick. It says, "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and that thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith." And what we are watching in this video is the exact thing that these so-called devils did to the Native Americans and the so-called Reubenites.
Understand the rules of power, you will certainly lose to someone who does. I'm going to teach you.
All right.
Military force was a constant threat, with the United States Army enforcing removal. Soldiers were stationed in or near native communities to intimidate them into leaving. When tribes resisted, the military used violence and fear to ensure compliance. Economic coercion also forced native nations to submit, with the government encouraging the destruction of native property. Bribes were offered to a few leaders to sign removal treaties, creating economic hardship and dependency. The entire system was designed to make continued resistance impossible. Resistance to the Indian Removal Act was widespread. Many tribes fought fiercely to protect their ancestral lands, using various methods to stop the removals. The Cherokee Nation provides a powerful example of legal resistance.
Then they want to show us stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's off. You know what I'm saying? Like we were dancing and celebrating during this time. So let's get some more precepts, man. And if you got some, King,
I got some.
we can go into it. So hey, read this for me, and then I'm gonna pass it. I'm gonna pass it to you if you can.
Huh.
Let's read a couple of precepts real quick.
Hosea 7:1.
Yeah.
The book of Hosea, chapter 7, verse 1. "When I would have healed Israel, then the iniquity of Ephraim was discovered."
Right. And when it's talking about Ephraim right here, it's talking about the northern kingdom of Israel. It's just not predominantly talking about just one tribe, which would be Ephraim. Go ahead.
"And the wickedness of Samaria, for they commit falsehood, and the thief cometh in and the troop of robbers spoil it without.
Right.
It says, and they consider not in their hearts that I remember all their wickedness, not now their own doings have beset them about, they are before my face.
And this is what we are reading about right now. A lot of our people on this side of the world, man, you know what I'm saying, sin so long that they forgot that the Lord, you know what I'm saying, is sitting there watching and beholding these sins, and everything that we do with evils, hey, judgment has to come back on us. So this is why I say that, you know what I'm saying, Samaria has committed falsehood, and the thief cometh in, and the troop of robbers spoil it without. And this is what we're reading about. This is what we are watching, and this is what we are learning about. The troop of robbers coming in and spoiling and taking everything, and the heritage, the lands, the riches, the language, and everything that came with being a so-called Native American or Native Indian or indigenous Indian, right? Watch this. Go ahead.
God, it says, they make the king glad with their wickedness and the princes with their lies.
And why did they make them happy with their wickedness? Because as long as they're wicked, they're easily to be deceived and being destroyed, and also to be overthrown, right? Let's jump down to verse number 9.
Verse number 9, strangers have devoured his strength.
Right. So when you think about this land, strangers devoured the strength of the Native Americans. Because what was our main supply that we got our weapons and our clothing from? We got them from buffaloes. And when you think about that, a lot of those, man, you know, Edomites at that time were killing off buffaloes by the thousands. A lot of our buffaloes got overthrown and destroyed. So they took food, resources, weapons, and ways of clothing from us, and then gave us what? They gave us covers with chicken pox on it, right? They gave us plagues and sicknesses. And what they did was they started to remove our strength from us, but that slowly and surely we started losing ways and losing wars to them, because they started taking a lot of our resources away. And that's how it ended up becoming a G-side. And that's how we got to the point to where we are now, to where they can come out with legislations and law acts and false treaties and different things of that nature to get us to cop out, because at this point we were starting to lose our legs that we had to stand on. Right, let's keep going.
God says, and he knoweth it not, yea, gray hairs are here and there upon him, yet he knoweth not. And the pride of Israel testifieth to his face, and they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek him for all this.
And at this time, we wasn't seeking God. What did a lot of our people start doing of the northern kingdom? A lot of them started to confide in the religions and the false gods of the so-called white man. This is how a lot of our people came into Catholicism and all them other religions that they have on the earth today. But you can go and get your precept, and I'm gonna jump back.
Come get let me get this in Isaiah 55 and verse number 21. I mean, not from Psalm. We get Psalms 55 and 21. Let me get that right, because when you look at the removal, the Indian Removal Act, see how they say, "Oh man, we gonna get y'all favorable jobs. We gonna help y'all with moving expenses." Then when you watch the video, it was saying they were having faulty little covenants and things like that they saying, "Oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that." Let's get this in Psalms. It show you that these people is wicked as hell. Right? It's Psalms 55 and 21. It says this: the words of his mouth are smoother than butter. And that's how he came at them. He came at them with them smooth words. Hey man, we gonna do this, we gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? We gonna make sure y'all have these jobs and that job. Right? He's talking real smooth, but war is in his heart. And then when you look at what Andrew Jackson did, right? They said, "Oh, we gonna take y'all to this place." When you go and read about the story of the Trail of Tears, it was thousands of Native Americans that died. That's why they call it the Trail of Tears. A lot of our people perished on that journey to Oklahoma, right? And then not only that, you had some of them that was dispersed in other areas. What they would do is they would enslave them. They would enslave them. So either they was on the path to going to Oklahoma, that Trail of Tears, or they was also being enslaved as well. Right? It says, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. And that's how this devil came to our forefathers, right? He came at them like that. And then he had war in his heart. But when you look at this, it's all part of prophecy that the Lord say would happen to his people for what? Their disobedience. So when you go to Deuteronomy 28, and we're going to go to verse number 65. It says this: among these nations shalt thou find no ease. Because once the so-called white man got here in this land, right, they didn't have no ease. They didn't let up. Like the brother just brought out, they killed over thousands of buffalo, right, just to snuff out the Native Americans, right? Taking so many lands, right? Took them from their lands, and some of them, they even was making treaties, said it was bribing them, right? They would make certain treaties with certain tribes to tell them to go to war against weaker tribes, right? There was a lot going on. It says, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. And you think about when they was on the Trail of Tears, they couldn't rest. They had to keep going. You had women, children, right? Old people, young people, all of them had to pack their stuff up and travel across the country on foot on land. It says, but the Lord shall give thee but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing eyes and sorrow of mind. And our people went through, they had a sorrow of mind. It was sorrowful. Imagine at one point in time in your homeland, it was a whole bunch of your people all around. The next thing you know, decades and decades go by, and y'all start dwindling and getting smaller and smaller in number because of the destruction of the so-called white man. Then some of y'all going into slavery, getting shipped off to this land, getting shipped off to that place, right? It was a lot going on, right? They taking your crops, right? So, yeah, I just want to bring that out. What you got, King?
All right, cool, Con. All right, so let's go back to this video real quick.
They created a written language, established a government, and took their case against Georgia's oppressive laws to the Supreme Court. In the 1832 case Worcester versus Georgia, the court ruled in their favor, but President Jackson ignored the ruling. In Florida, the Seminole people chose armed resistance, fighting several long and difficult wars against the United States Army. Leaders like Osceola became famous for their bravery and skill, using Florida's swamps and terrain to their advantage. While many Seminoles were eventually removed, a significant number successfully resisted. Other tribes also resisted in various ways, sending petitions and delegations to Washington, D.C. Some leaders, like Tecumseh, tried to build intertribal alliances. However, these efforts were largely unsuccessful, as the political and economic forces demanding native land were too powerful.
And now this is where it's going into, and the reason why I'm using this video, you know what I'm saying, because it do got a lot of good information in there, but for the sake of time, we just not trying to do all this reading because we got plenty of books on it, but it'll be a lot of reading when we could just show you video where a man is saying it and you see imagery. But real quick, let me share the screen. Let me stop. Let me do this again because I want to show this. I want to show some Bible verses as well. So now let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 8 and verse number 1. And you know what I'm saying? Even when you see the title on this video, it says, Israel reaps the whirlwind. It says, set the trumpet to thy mouth. He shall come as an eagle against the house of Yahweh, because they have transgressed my covenant and transpassed against my law. Right? So who is he talking about? He's talking about Esau, Edom, and Edom. These are the people who came as an eagle against the house of the Most High. And let's get precepts to prove that real quick. Let's get precepts to prove that. Who is the eagle that came against the Most High's house? We're going to get a couple of precepts on that. Let's get this in the book of 2nd Ezra. Chapter 12. So when you look at this, man, all right, and it says, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, and I think, let me see where it says, get straight to the point. All right, and the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, and verse number 10, and it said, and it reads, and he said unto me, this is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel, but it was not expounded unto him Therefore now I declare it unto thee, right? Behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon earth, and it shall be feared above all the kingdoms that were before it. So who is this eagle talking about? It's talking about the kingdom of the so-called white man, which will be Esau, Idumea, Edom, from Rome, from Greece, Rome, and all the other countries all the way up into America. So this is the eagle that is referring to. So now let's show in the Bible that even Moses spoke about and told us that an eagle was going to come upon our people and overtake us. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, and we're going to start at verse number 49. And it reads, we can start up. It says, verse 48, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So when you think about what Esau did to the whole nation of Israel in particular, but tonight we're focusing on the Gadites and the Reubenites, man, Esau did a number on our people, man. You know what I'm saying? He set them up and lined them up and killed them and overdid his part to the point to where he wanted to make it to where when they needed food, they had to come to him. When our people needed water, they had to come to him. And even now in this day's time, when the natives of this land need clothes, who do they get their clothes and resources from? Majority of them have to go get their clothes from the so-called white man. And in want of all things, medicine for your kids. If you want to take your children to the hospital to give them a proper birth, or if you need medicines, now the same people who once inherited this land and had all the herbal ingredients to do certain things they own, now their children now are destroyed, and you know what I'm saying, don't have this certain information to where now they have to go to the people who colonized and took everything for them to get these things. Let's read on in verse 49. It says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And when you think about it, who is this talking about besides Esau? Esau was a people who didn't show nobody no favor over here. They might act like they did, but any move they made around you or about you or to you, it was always to benefit them. But let's keep reading in Hosea chapter 8. So it says, set the trumpet to thy mouth. He shall come as an eagle against the house of the Lord. So this is talking about Esau. Esau came up swiftly as an eagle against the house of the Lord, which will be who? The Israelites, because they have transgressed my covenant and transgressed against my law. Israel shall cry unto me, my God, we know thee. So it's the future prophecy that the Lord said we was going to cry unto him and let him know, God, Most High, we know who you are. We know that you are the God of our forefathers, right? Israel has cast off the thing that is good. The enemy shall pursue him. And this is what you see going on when you think about the history of the Americas. When you think about the history all the way up from 1490s to the late 1400s, all the way up into 2025, this has been a hunt of Esau pursuing the whole 12 tribes of Israel to where now they have us in their possessions and they're trying to keep us under their possessions. But now the Most High is putting the spirit on us to learn and know who we are, to break out of their spell and to break out of these curses. Let's keep reading. It says, they have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I knew it not. Of their silver and their gold have they made them idols, that they may be cut off. Right? And this is what the Lord said that the Israelites did. Right? When he's talking about the whole nation of Israel, this is what led up to Esau coming over here and, you know what I'm saying, colonizing and destroying and, you know what I'm saying, committing a genocide on our people. But, you know what I'm saying, if you give me a second, Kim, I'm going to give it back to you, but I'm going to go back to this video.
Come on. I ain't hearing that.
Huh?
I can't hear none.
Oh, okay. I know what I got to do, Salaki. Again, this is fair use.
With people walking hundreds of miles over rough terrain. The Trail of Tears is the name most famously associated with the Cherokee removal. In 1838 and 1839, about 16,000 Cherokee people were forcibly marched westward. It is estimated that at least 4,000 Cherokee men, women, and children died from disease, starvation, and exposure during the journey.
Right. So let's hear that again. Let's hear that again.
It is estimated that at least 4,000 Cherokee men, women, and children died from disease, starvation, and exposure during the journey. While the Cherokee experience is well known, other tribes endured similar horrors. The Choctaw, Muskogee Creek, Chickasaw, and Seminole nations also faced devastating forced marches. The scale of human suffering was immense across all the removed nations. The United States government showed appalling neglect, with promised supplies often insufficient or of poor quality. Corrupt contractors and government officials often profited from the misery of native people. The government's primary goal was removal, not the well-being of those being removed.
Why is there?
All right, so now let's get some precepts on this, right? So we just heard what this man just said. So now let's get some precepts on this. Let's go to the where is it? All right, so let's get this. I'm gonna read this in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, because even Jeremiah prophesied that this thing was gonna come upon our people. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, and it's verse number 1. And when you look at the title here, it says judgment must come. So this is Jeremiah chapter 15 and verse 1. Then said Yahweh unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind cannot be toward this people. Cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus said Yahweh, such as are for death to death, and as such as for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. So these are the 4 things that the Most High said he had lined up for our people. So even when we're looking at what happened to the Gadites and the Reubenites, this is what happened to them. They got, you know what I'm saying, a lot of them got put to death through the wars. A lot of them got put to death through the sword. You know what I'm saying? A lot of our people died during the 12 of tears for famine, starvation, weakness, unattended to wounds. And you know what I'm saying? Like the Bible said, a lot of them to famine, and a lot of them who didn't get put to death or who didn't get caught up by the sword or who didn't die to famine, a lot of them also got caught up in the mix and got mistaken for a so-called African American and got what? Caught up as a slave. This is what we're reading about the Lord said was going to happen to the northern kingdom of Israel just as well as the southern kingdom. All right. So now let's go to another scripture. Let's read the book of Hosea chapter 11. And I'm going to start at verse number 1. It says, when Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt. As they called them, so they went from them. They sacrificed unto Baalim and burned incense to graven images. And this is what the northern kingdom did even during the time when they was in the land of Israel and when they left the land of Israel and went into the land of Asurim. It says, I taught Ephraim also to go, taking them by their arms, but they knew not that I had healed them. I drew them with cords of a man, with bands of love, and I was to them as that they take off the yoke on their jaws, and I laid meat unto them. He shall not return into the land of Egypt, but the Assyrian shall be his king, because they refuse to return. And the sword shall abide on his cities. So when you think about what the Lord is saying here, he's saying weaponry and destruction and wages of war was going to abide on the cities of the northern kingdom. This is why when you come over here and you think about what these devils did, this is why they were so successful in their wars with the northern kingdom of Israel, because it was of the Lord that he allowed this to happen. And he says, and shall consume his branches and devour them because of their own counsels. And my people are bent to backsliding from me. Though they called them to the Most High, none at all would exalt him. So when you look at the things that we're talking about and you look at the things that we're seeing in these videos and in these records that we have, that the reason why these things happen is because the Bible says we would not, you know what I'm saying, return to the Lord. And we, no matter what happened, we always backslid and went back into serving our idols and our other gods. So this is why these things is happening. This is why once we kept removing and we kept losing these certain wars, this is why the Bible says that when Esau kicked us out of the lands And the Indian Removal Act caused us to starting a trail towards Oklahoma. This is why the Bible said we had so many tears, and this is why it's so-called reported that 4,000 people died, men, women, and children. But you got it, Ken. Go ahead.
Con. Let me get this in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 14 and verse number 21. Or Ezekiel 14 and 21. Book of Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse number 21. Right? And it says this. It says, for thus saith the Lord God, how much more when I send my sword judgments, when I send my 4 sword judgments upon Jerusalem, the sword, right, and the famine, and northern beast, and the pestilence, to cut off from it man and beast. So what he's going into is going to the Lord judging, sending judgment to Israel, right, for their disobedience. So when we think about Israel in totality, that's what the Lord does. When we go off and we transgress the laws, statutes, commandments, the Lord sends judgment to us. That's why when you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 on down, you see the judgment Lord say will happen, or the evils that will happen to his people for their disobedience. So just like that, right, how the Lord sent for judgment into Jerusalem, he did the same thing in the northern kingdom, right? He sent a sword, he sent famine, he sent northern beasts, he sent pestilence, because not only did the northern kingdom, the Native Americans, right, did they have to worry about going at it with Esau, they had to worry about the different diseases that Esau brought with him, right? The different the pox, right? The different diseases, the little chicken pox, and all these different things, right? Smallpox, all these different diseases that Esau brought with him, and that plagued them and caused them to be unalive at a large rate, right? These things are judgment that the Most High sent to his people for what? Their disobedience. Because when you do look at you go into the way that Northern Kingdom was, or the Native American were here, they were starting to worship nature, right? They would have these different gods and things like that. Instead of paying homage and giving everything to the Most High, you had they would have these like little spirits, like your wolf spirit and this spirit, your tree spirit and your water spirits, and doing things like that. They was what you were doing, serving other gods. Then you got these different totem poles they had built up, right, serving other gods, and it's judgment that come with that, right, when we serve other gods, right? So check this out too. I'm gonna get this precept, right, to connect and show you that, man, they had tribes set up, they had a lot of things established, but when you ain't got the Most High by your side, when you don't turn your back on the Most High, it's a price to pay with that. Let me get this precept in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse number let me get this. Oh yeah, verse 22. It says, it's like not that. Verse 20, it says, the Lord shall send upon thee vexation, rebuke, and all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed. So they had tribes set up, right? They had many tribes set up, right? Your Cherokee tribe, your Choctaw tribes, your Blackfoot tribes, the Seminole tribe. They had things set up, but they was doing things that was contrary to the Most High God. So for that, the Lord sent thou vexation, rebuke, right? It says, until thou be destroyed, until thou perish quickly. And think about it, on the Trail of Tears, it said 4,000 Cherokee that got unalived on that trip. They perished quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So because our people forsook, right, the law, statutes, commandments, because it don't matter where you at, we still got to keep the commandments, whether it's in Babylon, America, you in South America, you in China, no matter where you at, you still got to keep the law, statutes, commandments. And if you don't, the Lord will judge you accordingly, right? You was about to get something else, or we was about to go into some stuff I had?
I got still a little bit more.
Okay, go ahead, King. Go ahead.
All right, hold on, bear with me. All right, so now you know what I'm saying. We're gonna go into this last part of it, and then you know what I'm saying. We're gonna go into a couple more things, and then we're gonna wind down. So now I want to go into this last part, right? Because now we see the Trail of Tears happening. A lot of people don't know how much land Esau took from us, but through the Spirit, you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna reveal it right now. So this is fair use still. We're gonna finish off a little bit of this, and then we're gonna go to something else.
Act was put in place to annex native land and then transfer that ownership to southern states, especially Georgia. The act was passed in 1830, although dialogue had been ongoing since 1802 between Georgia and the federal government concerning the possibility of such an act. Ethan Davis states that the federal government had promised Georgia that it would extinguish Indian title within the state's borders by purchase as soon as such purchase could be made upon reasonable terms. As time passed, southern states began to speed up the expulsions by claiming that the deal between Georgia and the federal government was invalid and that southern states could pass laws extinguishing Indian title themselves. In response, the federal government passed the Indian Removal Act on May 28, 1830, in which President Jackson agreed to divide the United States territory west of the Mississippi River into districts for tribes to replace the land from which they were removed. ZI. In the 1823 case of Johnson v. McIntosh, the United States Supreme Court handed down a decision stating that Indians could occupy and control lands within the United States but could not hold title to those lands. Jackson viewed the Union as a federation of highly esteemed states, as was common before the American Civil War. He opposed Washington's policy of establishing treaties with Indian tribes as if they were sovereign foreign nations. Thus, the creation of Indian jurisdictions was a violation of state sovereignty under Article 4, Section 3 of the Constitution. As Jackson saw it, either Indians comprised sovereign states, which violated the Constitution, or were subject to the laws of existing states of the Union. Jackson.
All right, so now I ain't gonna keep going on that no further. So now I want to show y'all this because I wanted to show how they did with the lands, how they finessed and did with the lands. So now we're gonna go into this other book I have, right? And with this book, we're gonna go into. You can see the book, King. And the name of the book is Whitewashing the Black Indian. You know what I'm saying? Whitewashing the Black Indian. But in this particular book, I just want to focus on these certain parts right here, right? So if you can read that for me, bro, so I can expound on that, it'd be mighty.
It says, how were 1.5 billion acres of land so rapidly stolen?
Right. So now a lot of us don't know, but it was 1.5 billion acres of land that was stolen from the Gadites and the Reubenites. You know what I'm saying? And it was 1.5 billion acres of land stolen. Right. So go ahead, bro.
In the subchapter, how were 1.5 billion acres of land so rapidly stolen? We delve into the dark history of land theft from Black indigenous Indians in America. The theft of 1.5 billion acres of land from indigenous peoples, aka Black indigenous Indians, was a calculated and ruthless act of colonization that took place over centuries. This land theft was carried out through a variety of means, including broken treaties, forced removals, and outright violence. Racism toward Black indigenous Indians has played a significant role in the theft of land from all indigenous peoples. However, Black Indians have long been marginalized and discriminated against, making them easy targets for land theft. The racist beliefs held by white settlers and government officials fueled the idea that Black Indians were inferior and therefore did not deserve to own or occupy land.
Right, and this is what they done to every last Israelite in the lands. Anywhere you go, they always get to choose whether you deserve to occupy our own land, even if it's yours. Right? They put these slick rules and laws in, or try to put these titles on you like you a terrorist or you a radical. Right? Go ahead, bro.
This racism allowed for the systematic disenfranchisement of Black Indians and the theft of their ancestral lands.
Right. So now watch this. Keep going.
Discrimination against Black Indians in the everyday life also played a role in the theft of land. Black Indian children were often denied access to quality foods, jobs, learning, and under constant threat of lynching for doing the simplest things like playing.
Right.
Further, hmm,
Go ahead.
further perpetuating cycles of poverty and disenfranchisement without access to quality of life. Indigenous Black Indians were unable to advocate for their rights or defend their land against encroachment by white settlers.
Right.
This lack of quality of life left Indigenous Black Indians vulnerable to exploitation and further land theft.
Right. So now we're not going to read all this, but next time we're going to go into this. I want to go into what is the Dawes Act of 1887, because a lot of this has a key role in the effect of how the Native Americans lost their land. So most high willing, we go into this the next time, but I just wanted to bring this certain out for the sake of time. But when you look at these things, right? So let's go back to the precepts real quick. These are the things that these devils did to us, right? So let's get the book of Esther, chapter 7 and verse number 4. The book of Esther, chapter 7 and verse number 4, it says, "For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage." So when you think about this, man, Esau didn't do these things just to have us as servants and slaves. Man, they did this to destroy us as a people, to take our nationality, to take our homeland away from us. And when you look at this, man, this is how wicked these damn devils are. Man, these folks took 1.5 billion acres from the Israelites. Man, you know how much land that is? Do you know how much better our lives and successful we could be as a people if we had that inheritance still? Right? So let's read this, and I'm gonna pass it to you, King. And you know, the rest of it I have to go into another time. This is the book of Lamentations, chapter 5 and verse 1. And it says, "Remember, O Yahweh, what is come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach." So this is what we must do as a people, man. We must ask the Lord to consider what has come upon us. This is why we waiting and praying hastily for the Lord to eventually avenge us of our adversaries, because look at what these people have done and are continuing to do to us. It says, "Our inheritance is turned to strangers, our houses to aliens." So when you look at what ICE is doing in America and what the government is doing, they're trying to deportate all the indigenous people or the Israelites out of this land. They are the ones that need to be deported and rounded up, because they are the illegal immigrants. They are the aliens. They are the ones, they are the strangers that our inheritance have been given to. But why have it been given to them? Because we didn't keep God's commandments. It says, "We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows." Our homeland, you know what I'm saying? We don't have none of this stuff, right? And when you think about this, read what the next part say. It said, "We have drunken our water for money." When you think about the indigenous people, when you think about the Gadites and the Reubenites, they are paying money to these Esau, these different companies to get their water. They paying money for their Ozark water, to the natural mineral water, whatever type of water, they paying money for the deer park, right? And all these wells and springs that they had in America, this was once theirs. They drank their water for free. But now the Bible is saying that what? Because of colonization, because of us being destroyed, we're not keeping God's commandments, now we must drink our water for money. Our wood, the trees that's all throughout this land, were once our trees, and we cut them down and did with these trees as we plead. But now it says our wood is sold unto us. All the dressers, the cabinets, the kitchen cabinets, you know what I'm saying? Everything that we might use wood for to kindle our fires now, it says that our wood is sold unto us. And it also says our necks are under persecution. You know what I'm saying? We labor and have no rest. And this is what's going on in this land now. This same land that was once ours, now the Lord said we labor in this land and our necks are always under persecution and we have no rest. Brothers getting 4-5 hours of sleep and have to go right back to work. Certain brothers having to sleep in cars. A lot of people having to sleep on the street or cop a squat on somebody's floor, because in this land that was once ours is now, you know what I'm saying, in possession of our enemy. They not giving us no rest. And the way they moving as if this land was never ours. And we have to work to stay here because why? It's theirs. So this is why we have to pray to the Lord. And this is why a lot of this stuff is imperative. It says, we have given the hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that do deliver us out of their hand, right? And it's like when you keep reading, it said, we got our bread with the peril of our lives because of the sword of the wilderness. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. And as you keep going, you know what I'm saying? This is also describing the Israelites, northern and southern kingdom. But these things not only happened to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but it happened to the whole northern kingdom of Israel as well. So this is why we must pray to the Lord for vengeance, right? Because as we going through these things, and as we will continue to go through these things about the northern kingdom, hey man, Esau did they wonders over here. They did a major G-side over here, and our people are still reaping the benefits of the curses that happened to us unto this day, right? But you got it, bro.
Con. I'm gonna get this in the prayer Azariah. Get this right quick.
Right, and like you know, like Chief said, man, they turning the elements to God over here now.
All right, madness. Pure madness. Right, and like the brother saying though, you know, and we gotta understand too, when we read about all these different things that happened to our forefathers and that's still going into us now as a people, right? We gotta understand it was placed upon us because of our disobedience. The prayer of Azariah 1 and verse 7 says, in all things we have trespassed and not obeyed thy commandments, nor kept them, neither done as thou hast commanded us, that it might go well with us. Right? Because we look at it in 2nd Esdras chapter 13, verse 40 on down, right? Northern Kingdom, they were supposed to leave the multitude of the heathen and come over here and keep the commandments of God. But they didn't do that, right? They didn't do that. It says, Lord kept them, neither done as thou hast commanded us. Lord commanded them to do that, but they didn't do so, right? Like the brother brought out, right? They worshiping nature, right? So it says that it might go well with us. And that's the reason why Northern Kingdom was catching hell. The Native Americans was catching hell. The Cherokee, they was catching hell, right? By that demon Andrew Jackson and so forth and so forth. When you read the book the brother was reading, they said they took this land over centuries. So imagine, right, hundreds of years going by and people is constantly taking away from you, decade by decade, year by year, right? It said 1.5 billion acres. Do you know how that's huge? It's an insane amount, but it was stolen from them, taken from them, right? Of course, by the devil, but also the Lord let it be done because it was a point of judgment as well too. Right? It says, "For we have sinned and committed iniquity, departing from thee." So when we look at it now, the people that are Native Americans now, they know that they Cherokee, they know that they Seminole, right? They know that they was from the Blackfoot or whatever tribe that you came from. Understand this, that you are Israelite, and you are still commanded to this day in 2025 to be keeping the commandments that the Most High have given to us, to our people, for a heritage and a culture, right? Not the culture of worshiping the spirits of nature and all that. And you know, when you put on, they used to build like different masks they would do, and then they would sit, you know, sometimes they'll sit around a fire and then smoke the little tobacco thing they'll do and work conjure spirits. We can't be doing that. That's not what the heritage or the culture that the Most High gave to us, right? He gave us the law, statutes, and commandments, right? It says in all things, right? In verse 8 says, "Wherefore all that thou hast brought upon us, and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment." So when you see these things, it's horrible, but that's judgment. Because when you think about it, when you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1, the Lord started off saying, hey, if you do what I tell you and be obedient, I will bless you. Right? Deuteronomy 11:26. He said, boy, you're going to either do this, you're going to receive blessings, or you're going to receive a curse. Right? So we got to understand when we see the bad things, right, or the evils, it's the judgment, true judgment. It says, and thou didst deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies. And you see that the lawless enemy is Esau, a pure, unadulterated, bona fide devil, a pure bona fide devil, right? Wicked, lawless, right? To go and do a big G-side on the scale that he did it. Not only did he do a G-side to the Native American, but to the animals too, right? In a huge step. Most hateful forsakers of God, right? They done took the land that the Native Americans, that was their land, now they turn the land of wickedness, folly, right? So much just unbearable things, right? Things contrary to the law, statutes, commandments that go down in this God-forsaken land, right? It says, into an unjust king and the most wicked in the world. So because our transgression, our trespass, we have been delivered to the most wicked people of the earth, right? But also, and keep in mind too, like the brothers bringing out too, that the Most High, you know what I'm saying, he's gonna bring vengeance. But before that vengeance come, it starts with the Israelites realizing who they are, bethinking themselves in captivity, the land of their captivity, the land of their oppression, and coming back to the law, statutes, commandments, and repenting. Right? It starts with that. And I yield with that.
Okay, con. So yeah, man, when you look at what's going on here and what we're going through, we're showing you how, and we got 4 parts to this thing, but we just showing you today in the first part of it how these people came and overtook us and destroyed us and colonized us. And now when you think about the indigenous people of this land, which would be the Northern Kingdom, they're now having to pay for the things that they helped migrate and cultivate in this land. The greatness of this land, they are now seeing other people reap the benefits of their labors that they once did, and they done over thousands and thousands of years. So now, you know what I'm saying? Most High willing, you know, people who follow along. But well, let me go and get this, and win that way. That's one less thing we got to worry about next week, right? So let's get this real quick. Let's get into what the Dawes Act is, right? So let's read this about the Dawes Act. You can see that, King?
Come.
All right, let's deal with this real quick. Because a lot of people might not know what the Dawes Act is, man. There's a lot of things that these people do, right, behind closed doors that a lot of our people don't know about because we don't know about these things. Let's get into it.
It says the Dawes Act of 1887, also known as the General Allotment Act or the Dawes Severity Act of 1887, regulated land rights on tribal territories.
Say regulated land rights on tribal territories. Regulated land rights on tribal territories within the United States, right? But go ahead, bro.
Named after Senator Henry L. Dawes of Massachusetts. It authorized the President of the United States to subdivide Native American tribal communal land holdings into allotments for Native Americans, heads of families, and individuals. This would convert traditional systems of land tenure into a government-imposed system of private property by forcing Native Americans to assume a capitalist and proprietary relationship with property that did not previously exist in their cultures. Before private property could be dispensed, the government had to determine which Indians were eligible for allotments, which propelled an official search for a federal definition of Indianness.
Right. So now we're not gonna keep going into all that right now. I just wanted to show certain portions of it. But look at how wicked these devils is. When you look into all these schemes and plots that they had, They did everything to decide what Indians got what and how they got what. They came out with laws and legislation to do what? Determine, oh, the president gets the right to subdivide the Native Americans' lands and all these other things. So, man, we are the ones that's going through this, man. And what is this proving? This is proving that we are the Israelites of the Bible, right? This is proving that we are the Israelites of the Bible, and man, we must repent and come back to the Most High God. But with that, man, we know we reached our time. You know what I'm saying? If Aliyah got something else, I'm gonna let her close us out. But that's all for me for this portion of it. But hey, just know that the next three parts of this gonna get better and better. You know what I'm saying? We just wanted to walk it down and make it simple and sweet and show you a lot of research on how, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't know about the Indian Removal Act. I know some are familiar with the Trail of Tears, but a lot of people are not familiar with the Dawes Plan or the Dawes Act and all these different, you know what I'm saying, laws and legislations that Esau put together, you know what I'm saying, to take the land away from the Northern Kingdom, right? And also a lot of people might not have knew that it was 1.5 billion acres, right? A lot of brothers want 40 acres in a mule. Imagine 1.5 billion acres, man, please. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, Most High willing, hey, brothers and sisters were edified. Man, we're going to come with a whole lot of more imagery, a lot of more records, and a lot of more heat through the spirit if it build the Most High will next week. But you got it, Aliyah.
Con, man. So with that being said, I just say, man, take note of everything that you're learning and that we're bringing out through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and understanding that we are God's chosen people. You know what I'm saying? We live in the last days. It's a lot going on. Now it's time to tap in, be sincere, be diligent, repenting, right, and trying to increase in these last days. Now it's not the time to play around, right? And also understand who you are. So those that's probably new here, understand that, because you know it's a wicked day that's coming up. Understand that is celebrating the slaughter and murder of your fellow brother and sisters, man. That's insane, right? So we got to come out of that mindset, that brainwashing, and thinking that these people were separate or different than who you are, when the whole time we all one people, which are the 12 tribes of Israel, right? But that I yield, though.
All right, so family, hey, we pray y'all week be blessed. Y'all stay in the spirit. Y'all continue to do. Hey, you know what I'm saying? With that, we say, Kwam Yashala.
Kwame Shalom.